Now, live breaking news from KCTV 5 News.
It looked very dangerous.
I grabbed my cat, ran downstairs.
We had a board that shot through the side of my house.
Oh my gosh. There you are, Emily. Where exactly are you?
We are just outside of Linwood, Kansas. I'm sure you can hear the tornado sirens are blaring here.
You need to move.
In the distance
You need to move right now. That is coming straight at you.
Yes.
Just a path of destruction from one storm creating multiple tornadoes in our area overnight. We have in-depth coverage this morning. Abigail James is live at KCI. In Linwood, meteorologist Aaron Little and Joe Chioda are manning our coverage. We want to begin there. Joe, it's just devastating what you're showing behind you.
It really is, Gina. You come into town and just lining the roadways on your drive in, it looks like a junkyard. There is debris scattered everywhere. But this is what shows just how powerful those winds were when that massive tornado ripped through. Take a look. I'm about 5'11", 6 foot tall. This tree is uprooted and the roots are as tall as I am. And you can see just how massive it is. This trunk wraps the whole way around. And the devastation doesn't stop there. Walk with me this way. These cars, all of them are destroyed. The windshields shattered. It looks like somebody took a baseball bat to the hood of these cars. And what's really interesting is when you look at the trees sitting right there behind them, you can see that some of these trees totally had their leaves ripped off. We've seen other trees that have been bent at just a 90-degree angle. And this right here, this is siding from a home. It is heavy, but I'm not even sure if it came from the home that we're next to or somewhere down the road, because you can see just how powerful those winds are. And a good example of that is take a look up here into this tree. You can see that's another piece of siding. So this stuff was picked up off the floor and tossed all the way into the sky. Now, we do want to give you the latest details about what's happening here in Linwood. We know that 12 people are hurt. They're right now at Lawrence Memorial Hospital. We know this tornado ripped through the town just before 7 o'clock last night. Now, Heart to Heart International, a recovery group, is going to be on their way here to Linwood in just about an hour. They are going to be delivering supplies like hygiene kits, phone chargers, water, food for so many of the people here that don't have a home anymore, just like these homeowners. We're going to be talking with them later in our show. We also have a lot of video to bring you. Chopper 5 was up overhead yesterday, and it showed the destruction from a bird's eye view. You can just see this tornado went everywhere. It really took over the entire town, and it was a terrifying experience for anybody in the line of that storm. With more on the storm, we do want to go over to meteorologist Aaron Little, who's joining me here in Linwood this morning, though she's on the opposite side of the town. No matter where you were, though, Aaron, everyone is seeing destruction this morning.
Yes, and we can see a definitive path, just the target zone where this tornado, we had that tight rotation about 6:45 last night. So what you see in the distance here, that is right over K32. And as this tornado was moving its way right up Cantrell, look at some of this damage. Look at this. So we've got a power pole here, and then look at, I can't even move it. It's so strong. And I don't know, Josh, if you can turn around here and see how many times this wrapped around the power pole. I mean, just absolutely astounding, the power of Mother Nature. And look what it did as it continued its path towards the north and the east, right through, slicing through this home. Just looking at some of the homes on this street, I would estimate EF3 at least potential damage. And it's heartbreaking because you see these homes, and these aren't just homes that were unoccupied. We have children's clothing lining the ground. Look at some of this stuff. We have Christmas ornaments that are on the ground. These are lives that are just completely shattered. Again, this is property, not lives. And I think that is the one thing that we are all so very thankful for this morning. We have had no loss of life. Which, Gina, I almost, it's unbelievable to think that we made it through this storm. We did have injuries, but so far no reports of loss of life. With the damage that we see this morning, it's just incredible.
And I am out here in Clay County in Excelsior Springs. No reported injuries even here. And it is dark. This is a rural area, but we did find some of the damage. Take a look at this sign here tipped over and just trees everywhere. This is a lot of what we've seen on the roadways. A lot of trees, a lot of metal wrapped around the fences in this rural area. This is Cameron Road and 146th Street. We just saw 4 electric co-op vehicles drive by, and they told us that they've been out all night and that there are some homes and barns with damage, likely what some of this metal belongs to out the road. They also told us that you can see the path the tornado took through by the Mosby Airport. We drove out there a couple minutes ago. It's too dark to see it just yet, so when the sun comes up, we'll go out there and bring you that. But yeah, here in Clay County, they did have it. A couple tornadoes touched down. It was the same storm, but different tornadoes. So a lot of damage out here. But again, luckily, no injuries, no lives lost here. So we're going to be out here all morning showing you some of the damage. But for now, I'm going to toss it back to the studio to you, Gina.
All right. Thanks, Leslie. And breaking overnight, we have learned at least 12 people are hurt in Lawrence. We want to show you some video out of Lawrence, Kansas, where the Memorial ER says they are treating those 12 people. One of them is in surgery this morning. Lawrence Memorial Health says a number of people who live nearby came to the hospital just to seek shelter during the storm. Now, this obviously had a big impact on roads in our area. Bill is here now to let us know what's actually closed this morning. Is this going to impact people trying to get around? Yeah, the good news this morning, Gina, is that a lot of the roads that were closed last night because of the storm, with limbs down, with power lines down, are reopened. Like K32 out west of town, Bonner Springs out to the Linwood area has reopened. K10, 59 highway south of Lawrence, all back open again. There may still be some of those smaller county roads out again west of Linwood, west of Eudora, south of Lawrence that are closed, but the major highways like K10, K32, and the Turnpike are still are open again. Again, I would advise to avoid K32 through the town of Linwood, especially when the sun starts coming up and folks start getting in there and helping out. Again, we want to make sure all those roads are open for first responders still to get in there and do that much needed work. Inside the 435 loop, all is good this morning here on the Kansas side. No accidents there. I-29 up to the airport looks good, and I-35 through Liberty looking pretty good there too. We are seeing a lot of fog though on the morning drive. This is a live look at I-70, not too far off from the Turner Diagonal. We'll take a bigger look at the picture here, and you can see limited visibility here through KCK as you make your way towards downtown, but a car is getting along just fine eastbound on I-70. Alina?
All right, thanks, Bill. Yeah, it looks like a little bit of that fog is elevated so that those closer to the surface can probably make it their way through. Of course, some of the stations are reporting less than a quarter of a mile out of KCI, at least the airport there. Less than 2 mile visibility in Leavenworth. Elsewhere across the metro looking fine here, but we do have some visibility that has been reduced also farther north and east near Cameron. Can't see more than 3/4 of a mile, and less than 3 mile visibility still in Garnett at this point. Flood warning in effect for northern Missouri, and it's until late this morning. Some of these warnings are in effect till 10:30, others 10:45, maybe even as late as 11, as the flooding concern will continue today. More rain is possible this afternoon, so we are not completely through yet with additional rainfall. We'll go over the timeline and where that rain could possibly fall a little later. Gina?
All right, we are on top of that breaking news this morning. Multiple tornadoes spawning from one storm that just blanketed the area. We have live reports from meteorologist Aaron Little, who is live in Linwood this morning. That's coming up in just 2 minutes.
And we are continuing our live coverage here at KCTV 5. We are just about 3 miles north and east of Linwood, Kansas. Now, look here. Again, this just showing the power and the destruction of life. I mean, this is a baby bib just wrapped around these trees. I'm just looking at some of these homes. We've got K-State flags. I can only imagine the family. This is probably, I'm guessing, a 6, 7, 8-year-old girl. Her clothes just thrown about. And we have destruction in every direction. And now that we're getting just a little bit of daylight, I was telling our photographer, Josh Collins, that I think that the structure that is just behind us was a home that's completely gone. we're going to venture around here and turn our lights around and see if we can check out some of that damage as well. Again, the good news, we just had over the last hour the Leavenworth County Sheriff come by checking on us to make sure we are okay and telling us that there have been no fatalities from this storm reported so far. But Alina, it is just hard to see the devastation that folks are going to have once we have daylight this morning. Back to you.
Absolutely. You're definitely right, Erin, and it's just terrible to see that. Of course, it's good news, though, that we haven't had any fatalities, but there were hundreds of reports across our area, not only from either reporting funnel clouds, tornadoes, but from hail, damaging wind, and flash flooding. So over the last 24 hours, this is a map of all the storm reports across our entire viewing area. And they extend far out west and even off to the east. But I want a closer look at where those tornadoes were reported outside of Lawrence in the Linwood area. And then as that storm system continued to track to the north and east, it pulled a couple of funnel clouds were reported just outside of Kearney. And of course, tornadoes were reported near Excelsior Springs there. So we had a lot of stuff going on last night. 60s right now. We'll eventually get into the 70s later on today, but it'll be a little bit cooler for some areas this afternoon with a chance for some showers and storms to return. All right, Gina.
And we want to update people about power outages. So for Westar, which covers those big areas that were hit by the tornadoes and storms in Douglas and Wyandotte County, you can see right now, this is their website. They have more than 4,400 homes without power. So our crews out in the field, they've seen power lines down, tree limbs, and just debris causing a lot of these outages this morning. Now, when it comes to KCP&L customers, there's about 63 homes sitting in the dark this morning. We're going to stay on top of these developments with outages and all the damage. We will update you throughout our newscast. Erin.
And we just moved south of where I showed you just a moment ago. I think these are the walls of a house that has been completely leveled here now, just off to my left. We're going to continue to survey this damage as we continue our live coverage here at KCTV 5. Again, we are just, I would say, 2 to 3 miles northeast of Linwood, Kansas, after those violent tornadoes last night. Stay with us.
Welcome back to KCTV 5 News this morning on your Thursday after a very long, dangerous, and scary night for so many people here in the city of Linwood. We are about a mile west of the downtown area, and I want to give you a look at just what this tornado did. We're here at the Duffin home. We talked to this family last night. They tell me that this right here used to be their shed. It was either just picked up and tossed about or totally flattened to the ground. You can still see some debris, but it's these trees and those heavy winds that ended up bringing structures like that down. But the shed is the least of the worries right now. Check this out. It's still dark, and yet about 200 yards away, we can see their neighbor's house. We can see inside of it right now because the exterior of the home has just been torn apart. And that's the same story right here at the Duffin home. Their roof is gone, and we talked to the mom who wasn't here at the time, but had to get word that her son and her husband were inside the home right when that tornado hit.
Oh no, I don't even know. I've never had to deal with anything like this before. It's a shock.
Once the sirens went off, they more went off in Johnson County first, and then these went off. And once I saw it coming across the lake, I decided it was time to get downstairs. And once we were downstairs, the power went off when I got down there, and you could hear the stuff on the deck hitting the side of the house.
And those winds were so violent, they didn't just bring down structures, but also power poles and power lines. Right now, there does not seem to be any power here in Linwood. We have this scene at the Duffin home lit up very well, because if we didn't, it would be total darkness. And that's what we saw when we came into town. We have seen some power crews making their way in here that will hopefully help. Once the sunlight hits and once power gets back on, these people can start cleaning up. This destruction was not just seen here in Linwood. We also felt the effects of it closer to the Kansas City area. Right now, Abigail James is live at KCI, where flights ended up being grounded for hours yesterday due to debris. What's the status this morning, Abby?
Yeah, hey, good morning, Joe. So there are flights, many flights actually, that are canceled this morning. A lot of this is due to those planes not being able to make it into KCI last night because of that airfield being closed down. And there are a lot of people that are currently in line this morning over here at the Southwest Terminal that are working on rebooking their flights. Now, the reason the airfield was closed was because of storm debris, including tree limbs and pieces of structures that were lying all over. According to the airport's Twitter, they presume this was from tornado damage that was nearly 50 miles away in Linwood, Kansas. Maintenance crews were on site to clear the debris so they can get the airport back open, which they were able to do so at around 12:15. Now, as many passengers waited to find out what would happen with their flights, they felt a sense of frustration, but they were also thankful that they were safe.
I just don't travel very well, so typically I'm stressed out even when it goes well, let alone on a day like today.
Yeah, and then so you're stressed out to begin with, and then here go tornado warnings and...
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm thankful we're okay. Could have been worse. Building could have came down on us, so at the end of the day, that's what's important.
Now, around 7 p.m., the airport actually had to move people into parking garage tunnels to shelter in place. They were given the all clear around 7:45 last night. For now, reporting live, Abigail James, KCTV 5 News.
And it is just devastating where we are at right now. We are just to the northeast of Linwood, Kansas. And last night, as Gary and I were tracking the storms, we had storm reports that homes were completely wiped off their foundation. Look at this home. We are looking inside their basement right now. Here is their foundation, and every single one of their 4 walls are completely gone. You can see them here. This is a steel structure. I couldn't budge this if I wanted to move it. This huge platform here is part of their home that is now completely gone. And something else to note, as we were just surveying some of this damage, this was an occupied home. We saw baby bottles. We saw fresh food that looked like it had been completely wiped out of their refrigerator. As we're continuing down the hill here, look at this tree limb. That's at least, I would say, a 1.5 feet in diameter. As we're continuing to monitor and get the latest here, again, we have to be very careful because we do have power lines that are down and just so much destruction. Look at this. I mean, things like this are the hardest to see. Yeah, these aren't homes. These are people's lives that are just they're going to have a hard time here for a while, and you know, our city is certainly going to support them. So we're going to continue to monitor this damage as we get more and more daylight. Unfortunately, we're seeing more and more damage around us. We are reporting live near Linwood, Kansas. Erin Little, KCTV 5 News. Over to you, Alina.
Thanks so much, Erin. And thankfully, so it is dry out there so that crews can do some cleanup and start that very early. Right now, we are dealing with low clouds and a little bit of fog out there closer to the airport. Not so much so in the downtown area any further. As you'll see from our city cams, things are looking a lot clearer, but visibility is low at a KCI, down to a quarter of a mile there and up to 1.25 miles of visibility in Cameron still. And that is those are the 2 areas we've been dealing with some thick fog, and it might even stretch along I-35 here up to northern Missouri. But we are going to continue staying dry across most of our viewing area, especially across the metro as we head further on into the afternoon. We've got forecast track to show you an hour-by-hour look. This is lunchtime, so I've stopped the clock here. Clouds will be thick off and on throughout the day, so we're going to see a mixture of sun and clouds, so maybe a little bit of sunshine. But then again, by the afternoon hours, say 3 up until 6 o'clock, I think that's where we're going to see the timeline of at least a few more showers and thunderstorms roll on through closer to the southeast side of our viewing area. So Butler, Clinton, Warrensburg, Sedalia, Marshall, Odessa, and Harrisonville could potentially see a few thunderstorms develop, maybe even creating or producing damaging wind and large hail. So there is still a threat for severe storms this afternoon. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but at least the risk is not nearly as high as what we were talking about yesterday. Here's the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. A marginal risk of severe storms stretching from Marshall down to Lacine and Butler, and a slight risk for severe storms just east side of Clinton into Sedalia. The enhanced risk farther off to central and southeastern Missouri, and it stretches all the way into southern Illinois, down far south to northeastern Texas. Rain chances do go down eventually, at least towards Thursday, Friday, until Saturday and Sunday. This weekend, we could see a couple more showers and thunderstorms. Of course, we definitely do not need the rain here in Kansas City, as now May has topped the wettest May ever on record. All right, Bill, I'm going to send it over to you now so we can get a look at the roads.
All right, thanks, Selena. Looking so far so good across the metro highways this morning. Now, if you're headed north, don't forget I-29 is closed again north of St. Joe. MoDOT just closed that again here within the last 36 hours again because of flooding. So make sure you use the I-35 alternate. Again, within the 435 loop, 470, we're all looking pretty good this morning on the highways. Nothing's closed here within the Kansas City metro area. I-70, 470, all in great shape. I-49 headed for the Grandview Triangle, looking good. And this scout camera before 7 o'clock last night had some pretty ominous images this morning. Just a little bit of fog cooking off here at I-70 and K7. Gina?
All right, thanks, Bill. Your time is now coming up on 5:25, and reports of damage and destruction still just pouring into our newsroom this morning. Next up, the unbelievable story of a boy who took shelter to survive the storm. That's straight ahead.
Welcome back, everybody. We do want to give you a live look at Studio 57 in New York this morning. This is the set of CBS This Morning, and today Jerika Duncan will be live here in Linwood, Kansas, bringing you the story of the destruction after that massive tornado hit and put 12 people in the hospital and totally destroyed homes. Be sure to keep it right here on KCTV 5 through 7 o'clock to catch her story. Right now, we are here live in Linwood. I want to show you this house that I'm in right now. This is the Duffin home. Take a look at the destruction that surrounds me and the reminders that a family lives here. Right here, you see children's books. There's pictures of this family scattered around on the walls. Take a look at their kitchen right now. It is just filled with debris, and if you look up, the roof is totally gone. Now, Mark Duffin and his son Kobe were here when that tornado hit. Unimaginable. It was so scary for them, they tell us. Now, I kind of want to walk you through exactly what they tell us happened. So Mark and his son ran down these stairs right here to take cover. Once they were down there, they had a blanket over him. Mark decided that wasn't enough. So in a split-second decision, he came up through this kitchen and went this way. I'm going to have my photographer, Edwin, kind of lay out the scene here as we walk through shattered glass and rubble left behind. But Mark ended up going into his daughter's room, who was not home at the time, took her mattress, and sprinted back down the steps. Now, before he got to the stairs to bring that mattress down, he said the tornado hit at that moment and it totally blew out the front door of their home. He did make it down just in time to cover him and his son with that mattress. Take a listen to what he said.
I grabbed my cat, ran downstairs. My dad told me, he said, hey, are you brave enough to stay down here? And I said, yes. And he ran up, he grabbed a mattress, he brought it down, but as soon as he was bringing it down, he barely made it down in time because the tornado was hitting as he was running down. So he came down, we got in the corner of the basement where it was sturdy. I held my cat real tight. We just sat there, and he covered us up with the mattress, and the tornado went over.
Unbelievable. Can't even imagine being in their situation, and so many people were here in the town of Linwood. They said right when they removed that mattress from their face, they looked up. They're in their basement, remember, and they saw daylight. So the roof of their home was gone in many parts. So unbelievable, and it's just paints a picture of what these people are going to be going through in the days and weeks ahead as they try to clean up this mess and restore whatever it is they have left. The most important part, though, is that they do still have each other and that there were only 12 people injured. No serious injuries or life-threatening injuries here in the town of Linwood. We can tell you, Alina, the sun is starting to come up outside, and we are starting to hear birds chirp. We know that power crews are now making their way into the city to hopefully restore power to the people here who have lost it. But we know it's going to be a very, very long road ahead. I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, it certainly is, and it's a good thing that it's dry out there now. We've had several inches of rain over the last 24 hours. As you look at just behind me, these are radar estimated rainfall rainfall totals. We're seeing over 7 and 6 inches farther north, and that's why there is a flood warning in effect there. We'll talk about how much more rainfall we could see in the next 7 days in just a few minutes. Before then, let's show you our live look with our KV Complete City Cam. Downtown Kansas City, a little cloudy and some patches of fog. We'll go over your visibility as well coming up.
Now, live breaking news from KCTV 5 News.
Breaking news this morning, one storm, multiple tornadoes. This morning, we're getting a closer look at the destruction from the twisters that hit our area overnight. We have in-depth coverage this morning. Leslie Aguilar is live in Excelsior Springs. In Linwood, meteorologist Aaron Little and Joe Chioda are manning our coverage. Joe, now that the sun is starting to come up a little more, are you able to see more of that destruction?
You know, Gina, the sun is starting to come up now, and this is probably the first time we've chatted with you since we've seen a little bit of daylight. The birds are chirping, and it really is painting more of a wider picture of what we're seeing. And that's why I want to show you this. Take a look at this home. You can see just how severe the winds were when that massive tornado ripped through, sending debris, trees, metal right into the home. It took off their front door and the back side of their roof. You can see that it stripped the home of its siding. And what really is interesting is whenever you look beyond the house into the tree behind it, all of the leaves of that tree are now just gone. Now, this family is okay. We just talked to you about 2 minutes ago and told you that the father and son hid in the basement. They survived just like everybody else in the town of Linwood. We do know that 12 people are in the hospital right now, though, with injuries. And we also know that Heart to Heart International is making its way here to Linwood. They are going to leave and come here in just about half an hour. They're going to be bringing food, hygiene kits, phone chargers, because there's no power here, as well as water for all of the people that now have to clean up this huge mess. And behind this house are even more houses that are destroyed. So this is impacting so many people this morning. And our Storm Track 5 weather team tracked this entire storm from start to finish to protect people that were in homes like this when that tornado hit. Aaron Little is joining us this morning on the other side of Linwood, and the damage reached that area too, Aaron. Just seeing the homes that have been destroyed and the reminders that families lived there and went through this really is putting things into perspective this morning.
We are on the front lawn right now of a home that has been completely wiped off of its foundation. Look at the power of Mother Nature with these trees, just snapping them like twigs. And these are not small tree limbs, and we've seen huge steel beams that are just blanketing the ground. Look at these limbs. So this is just lining the roadway here, and you can see it just splintered completely from this tree limb. And look at all of this debris. We've got sheet metal that is just wrapped. Look at how high this goes. I would say, what, at least 20 feet in the sky. Again, I can't move this at all. These are just an indication of the power of these storms. I would estimate, just looking, now that we have daylight, I can count at least 6 homes that have damage where I'm at, just off north and east of Linwood, Kansas right now along K32. And I would estimate, given the way that some of this damage looks to these structures and these homes, at least EF3 potential damage from these storms last night. And the National Weather Service, they will have crews out here once the sun is up, assessing this damage to see how long this tornado was on the ground, how many homes were impacted. Again, thankfully, no loss of life. But I have to give credit to Westar Energy. We've had so many Westar crews coming up and down this street, up and down K32, trying to restore power. There's no power right now where we are at. And you can just smell the pine in the air from these trees and all of this destruction. Just so powerful right now here near Linwood, Kansas. Now, this same system pulled right northeast all the way across the north side of the 435 loop all the way to Excelsior Springs. And that's where Leslie Aguilar is reporting live this morning. Leslie, what does it look like where you're at?
A lot of downed trees, like you were explaining. It smells like that smell of fresh cut cut wood because there is so much of it. Take a look at this uprooted tree right here. This is a lot of what we've seen. The sun is just now starting to come up, so we're going to start seeing more of this. But there's just pieces of mangled metal that we saw all along the road. The roads are pretty clear out here. We didn't have any, any closed roads on the way out here. And then we did see some power crews that passed through and told us that they have come across some downed power lines here in Clay County. They've been working all through the night to fix those. They've also seen some house damage. And if you can see, this is a lot of what we've been seeing is just these pieces of metal mangled on the fence lines here. So here in Clay County, no injuries, no fatalities, thank goodness. But we're going to get a look more at all of the damage. I was told that you can see the path that this particular twister took near the Mosby Airport. We went out there earlier. It was too dark to see anything, so we're going to head out there after this. Hopefully we can show that to you coming up in our 6 o'clock hour. But yes, so just again, the same storm, different twisters that hit here in the Northland. We're going to show you that damage more coming up. But for now, I'll toss it back to you in the studio, Gina.
Yeah, such a relief that people are not hurt there. Leslie, thank you. We are getting new video throughout the morning of the damage that people are dealing with. Check out this video. This is from Linwood. You can just see the sheer force of the storm. That's a semi-truck on its side. Trees just destroyed, buildings knocked down. This is the reality this morning of how strong these tornadoes really were. And we want to show you some pictures also from KCI. So they tweeted these out. This is debris that was on the airfield last night. And all of this debris, get this, this is from Free State Growers Nursery in Linwood. That's almost 50 miles away from the airport. They found plant ID tags from the greenhouse pots and plants. That's how they were able to figure out where that debris came from, but it just shows the sheer force of that storm.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy,
That's
Bill?
crazy. I mean, we live 3 miles away from the speedway, and we had foam insulation coming down in our backyard. So, and then a handful of my neighbors had stuff raining down from the sky, too. But, all right, traffic-wise, we need to get you through this real quick. The good news is most of the highways that were closed last night back open, like K32, K10, highways south of Lawrence into the west of Eudora are back open. Some of the county roads through those neck of the woods, again, parts west of KC metro area may still be closed, but the main highways, K32, K10, and the Turnpike are open this morning to use. Of course, still would think you should stay away from the town of Linwood as folks are going to be in there working this morning. I-29 is now closed again north of St. Joe if you're headed up to the Omaha area. And one final look here closer to downtown, taking a live look across the Heart of America Bridge. Traffic looks pretty good out of North Kansas City this morning, headed for the north side of the downtown loop.
I will take that from here. Bill, thank you so much. Right now we're tracking cloudy, a little bit foggy as well in some parts of our viewing area, but dense fog not really an issue for most of our viewing areas. Just out of the KCI airport, of course, and near just along I-35, we've been tracking that. Also want to mention today, Children's Mercy Park still plays. I believe they will still play. Kickoff is at 7:30. It'll be cloudy and mild and in the mid-70s around 7 p.m. with cooler temperatures expected as the game wraps up. Of course, Bill and I were just talking. He told me that LA Galaxy had to be rerouted to St. Louis. Hopefully they make it here in time to play the game, but I do believe it's still on for tonight by 9 o'clock, upper 60s and cool. So again, should be mainly dry for this game, but there are other parts of our viewing area that are expecting more rain this afternoon. We'll get a look at that a little later. Gina?
All right, thanks, Selena. We are on top of that breaking news after multiple tornadoes touched down in our area. We'll have much more coverage coming up in 90 seconds. Breaking news right now, some flights at KCI hitting snags this morning after the storm. Multiple flights are delayed or canceled. You want to make sure you check the Storm Track 5 mobile app before you head out for your flight this morning. We know planes were grounded last night for hours because of this storm. They even had to bring people into shelter. So now they're kind of playing catch up this morning. Again, download the Storm Track 5 app. It's a great resource for people to have. Joe.
We are live this morning in Linwood on the west side of town. The sun just now coming up and giving us a look at the complete devastation that has hit the town. For the first time, we're able to see more of the homes impacted. You can see this house right here has a total divot in its roof. totally destroyed. Coming up, we'll hear the stories of families that rode out this storm when that tornado hit.
Breaking news this morning, we want to show you a new video of that tornado in Linwood. Look at just the sheer size of this. This morning, NWS will be looking at the area, trying to figure out how powerful that storm really was. And our Joe Chiodo is live in Linwood this morning. And Joe, obviously the sun's coming up now, but the damage you were showing us even before was just really unbelievable.
Yeah, it's only getting worse from here, unfortunately. And now that the sun is up, people are able to get a better picture of this. So we've been bringing you this story this morning of the Duffin family. This is their home right here. Mark, Dina Duffin own this home. Mark and his son ended up hiding in the basement, covering themselves with a mattress. But it didn't just impact them and all the devastation you see here. If you walk with me right across the street, Dina's mom lives in this home. The windows were smashed out. A tree fell right in the middle of their driveway. They did cut up that tree since last night, but you can just see that it has been overtaken by debris, and the trees surrounding it have lost all of their limbs and leaves. It is a heartbreaking scene for families when they show up back here to see everything that they have lost. The good news, they didn't lose each other. There are only 12 injuries this morning. They are at a hospital in Lawrence. No deaths reported after this storm, which, to be honest, is pretty unbelievable when you enter these houses and you see all of the devastation. Something else we do want to update you on that we can now give you a better picture of with the sun up are the power lines, and we are being very careful. We have looked. There are no down power lines in the area of street where we're out. However, you can see that these lines are simply hanging after those power poles were tossed about by the winds. That is why people here in Linwood have no power this morning. Whenever I drove in around 3 o'clock this morning, it was pitch black. The bad part about that, if you think of it, is that many of the people didn't have the ability to charge their phones or communicate with their loved ones once that storm hit. Now, Heart to Heart International is coming here with their medical mobile unit. They will have food, hygiene, and phone chargers to allow anybody who has yet to do so to get in contact with their loved ones. We should tell you the Duffin family did stay with their in-laws in Leavenworth. We do want to go over to Erin Little right now on the other side of town. She's just seeing even more damage. Erin, what can you tell us?
So heartbreaking here on the other side, the east side of Linwood. So we are right along areas of K32, about 3 miles northeast of Linwood, and we can see right where this tornado made a direct impact, multiple homes and structures right through this area. And where we're standing right now, there used to be a home. It's completely off of its foundation, and this was not a vacant home. We have food that's in the refrigerator, eggs and food all over the ground. We have all of these personal items. Now, stop what you're doing, and I want you to look at the screen right now, because if I was a parent and I know my kids are safe, these are the things I would want. Do you know these folks? Because I'm going to post these on my Facebook page. If you know who these belong to, we want to make sure that they get what they can out of this one. And look at this. Again, just absolutely heartbreaking. The lives and the families here. Again, this is all damage that can be replaced. Again, these memories can. I'm going to post these right now on my Facebook page, Erin at KCTV5. If you know who these belong to, please let me know, and we'll make sure that they get back to where they belong so they can have what memories they had from the walls, the pictures that were hanging on their walls last night. Let's toss it back inside now to Alina. And Alina, if there is any good news, the stronger storms and the storms completely have moved out. So now they are going to get a good opportunity to really survey the damage for today here.
Yeah, absolutely, Erin. Skies should clear out a little bit from those clouds, and we should see more peaks of sunshine here and there throughout the day. Right now, it kind of looks a little hazy, maybe a bit foggy from this view as we look in the distance to see downtown Kansas City, still dealing with a little bit of fog in some parts of our viewing area this morning. Other than that, it's mainly cloudy for KCI, downtown Lee's Summit, and Olathe and Sedalia, all coming in at mid to upper 60s to begin with, but the visibility still below a quarter of a mile out of Kansas City, near 1.5 miles in Cameron and Richmond, now seeing visibility that's been reduced over the last half hour, so less than 3 miles, which isn't terrible. So obviously you can probably make it through just fine in the Richmond neighborhood, but the visibility has been going down a little bit now in Garnett, 2.2 miles of visibility there, and Ottawa now down to 2.5. All right, here's your day planner for the rest of this morning into the afternoon. 7 to 11 will be going up in temperatures, mid-70s expected, and we might get stuck in the 70s for many areas today. I don't think we'll see anything higher than 77 degrees. Showers and thunderstorms possible still later on today in parts of our viewing areas. So I'll give you a chance to look at our forecast track in a moment. This is a live power Doppler, the recent scan here on our radar showing you clear and dry out there. But forecast track says a different story. As you'll notice, by lunchtime today, can't rule out a stray shower, maybe a thunderstorm possible. Nothing expected to become severe at the noon hour, but I can tell you that there might be a few showers and thunderstorms that produce heavy rain, of course, gusty wind, maybe some hail closer to the southeastern corner of our viewing area. I believe Warrensburg, Clinton, Sedalia could possibly see a few of those showers and storms roll through all the way through this evening, and then drier conditions return as we head through tomorrow. You might have seen some of these clouds kind of come in out of the northwest as the storm system progresses eastward and pulls all that moisture in. I don't think there will be too much rainfall tomorrow. It should be mainly dry as that kind of pulls away from our area. There is a risk for severe storms today, mainly on the very southeastern corner of our viewing areas. I've been talking about anything far southeast of I-35 from Harrisonville eastward and off to the south of you. You are in that risk. The higher risk, of course, still lies closer to central and southeastern Missouri, up into southern Illinois, and as far down south as Dallas, Texas. All right, Children's Mercy Park, just a quick look at the forecast for today. Again, just to mention, it'll be mainly cloudy and mild for the game. 70s expected at kickoff at 7:30, upper 60s by the end of it. And for your Security Bank 7-day forecast, we'll be seeing 80s return quickly, so we do warm up eventually, and then a slight chance of rain all the way through early next week, with Saturday being the better chance out of the next 7. All right, Bill, how are the roads now?
All right, Alina, the highways here within the metro area are looking pretty good this morning. We're not having any reports of accidents on the metro interstates as we get started here at 5:53, so that's good news. Of course, if you're over in one of the affected areas because of the weather last night. We're here in K32 is back open now west of Bonner Springs on down to the Linwood area. Was closed for a stretch last night because of a lot of debris in the road. Also, K10 open from DeSoto through Eudora over to Lawrence, and not hearing about any of those highways closed there. Over near where our Leslie Aguilar is, she was near Mosby, Excelsior Springs. You can see some highways closed for flooding here, 69 Highway there, but again, not hearing anything closed because of overnight damage. And of course, if you do come to an intersection that has been damaged because of loss of power or stop sign or damage or something, treated as a four-way stop as you go through there. Rest, again, the highways looking pretty good here within the metro area. One live look with our scout camera is going to take us down near the Triangle. Had a stalled out car earlier. It's no longer there. Northbound 71 Highway looking pretty good as you head forward downtown. Gina?
All right, looks good. Thanks, Bill. Your time is now 5:54. We're dealing with some of the damage this morning. Coming up, we'll give you a live look at the destruction. And now that the sun is up, we are getting a much clearer picture of all that devastation that's ahead.
Welcome back to KCTV 5 News this morning, everybody. A devastating Thursday morning that we are waking up to here in Linwood. Perhaps the town that got hit the hardest. Take a look at just how strong these winds are. You can see this tree snapped in half, taking off the bark of the tree, and beyond that you see a house. Its exterior is totally missing. You can see into the top floor of that home. The bottom floor and its roof is gone. Coming up, we are going to take you inside one of these homes that was destroyed and share a family story of riding out this storm. Stay with us. We have more tornado coverage straight ahead.
The sirens seeming to just go off for hours in our area. The National Weather Service told our meteorologists to use the strongest language you have ever used to get people out of the way of this storm. Check out this video. This is from Nebraska Furniture Mart. This is from our city cam there, showing the tornado just creeping closer to the speedway over by the Legends.
My ears were really hurting because there was a lot of pressure. Because basically we were inside of the tornado.
We're starting to hear some incredible stories for people who rode out this storm. Ahead at 6 o'clock, our live team coverage continues. We're also going to have a live look from Chopper 5 over that damage now that the sun's up. It's all coming up on KCTV 5 News this morning at 6 a.m.